is up, everybody? It's your boys Jen and Juice back at it again, and today we have someone special here with us, the one and only Mr. Eric Whiteback. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Yo, Jen and Juice, what's happening, people? Thanks for having me on here. This is gonna be fun. I've never done a live podcast quite like this before.
Oh, this is gonna be fun. First time for everything, right? We'll let people trickle in a little bit, and then we'll get into some conversation. What's up, everybody? Hope everyone is good. JW just announced it. Let's address the elephant in the room. Draymond Green rainbow completed. Yeah, I'm gonna throw the Draymond Green card out the window. No way I'm completing that.
What's the Draymond rainbow? I don't even know what set you're going for, or what it is.
Oh no! We'll open up a couple of optic over the past couple of weeks, and one of the packs that I opened up, I got multiple Draymonds. It basically in one opening. So I think, Jen, you mentioned that, you should start the Draymond collection, and now they're telling me
there's only like 88 parallels, right? So that should be easy rainbow.
I'm collecting the rainbow. You
already got the big ones. You already hit the more difficult ones. So, I mean,
yeah.
You know,
well, that's the Andre Drummond.
Oh, yeah, Andre Drummond. Yeah.
That's the Andre Drummond. I got in a break, and I randomly got every single choice Andre Drummond card that you could possibly get. And people want to start seeing that, but I'm actually, funny enough, I am collecting the Amari Stoudemire rainbow from 2022 Prism, and I got 23 of the parallels, including one of the shimmer 101 black, black gold. I'm trying to find. I did find the other 101 black finite, but this guy.
How many 101s are in 2022 Prism? I'm not even sure. Is it like three?
Three non-autos.
That makes it so hard. Like, I hate, I love rainbow collecting, and like, I don't personally do it too much. I'm a gold prism guy, which is, just tough, but it's not like trying to buy one of ones. The thing is, like, dude, like a one of one might just never show, and it might never be possible for you as long as you live to complete a rainbow, especially when there's like 3 one of ones. I always wished like some company would do parallels, like the actual Roy G. Biv of the rainbow. And then you would have like, maybe like the red is to 10, orange to 15, yellow, like, and then there's not even a one of one in that like rainbow. And then maybe there's a black or gold one of one that lives like outside the rainbow. But I think that would be like a cool way for people to actually rainbow collect and give them a chance, because especially the multiple one of ones, man, that's props to people that do that. 'Cause that's tough. Whenever I see a completed rainbow, I'm like, yes, good for you. You got it.
100%, dude. And it's just so expensive too. Because sometimes if you're collecting one of those particular players, their cards are going to skyrocket, and everybody thinks they got like a $20,000 card. A
101 is basically whatever they want for it. So
yeah,
it's up to the dealer's choice at that point.
Very true. But let's get the conversation started. Eric, give us a little background. Introduce yourself. Collectibles Guru on Twitter? I guess it's your @, right?
I mean, the @ is Eric Whiteback everywhere. Yeah. I mean, I'm not too worried about plugging myself, but that's that. That'll be my last plug of the day. Yeah. So a little bit about myself. I mean, I've been collecting just about everything you can name since I was little. For me, it started at the 2000 All-Star Fan Fest. I was 4 years old, and my pops worked for Hershey Foods, and they were a sponsor of the event. When you're like a 4-year-old with a sponsor tag walking around All-Star Fan Fest, like everyone just wants to give you packs of cards, right? So it was like a lot of like Upper Deck MVP, sets like that, where I was just like ripping packs as a kid. And I was from Central Pennsylvania, so Philly sports fan through and through. You'll see I got like my Sixers gold prisms over here. I've got the Eagles gold prisms over there. I've got some Philly stuff on the other wall, so I still PC some of that stuff. But for me, that was where it started. I was just like, and I was maybe like 10 or 12 years old, and I'm like, I'm going to try to get one of every Philly certified autograph that exists. And I was like going back and forth on the checklist, and eventually got to a point where I was like in high school, and I'm like, okay, these cards are really cool, but I don't think they're a good investment, right? Like my Mike Lieberthal auto, as much as that means something to me, like that's not a good investment. So I'm like, I'm going to ditch this stuff. And at the time I was really interested in this brand called Supreme. They're a skate company based out of New York City that does a lot of streetwear, fashion, sneakers, things like that. And so basically I like sold all my sports memorabilia, got into Supreme and sneakers, and started making content in that area. And funny enough, like, I essentially flip-flopped again and started selling all my Supreme and all my sneakers to fund all my sports cards and stuff, and really got back into it just a little bit before the big COVID boom. I was like 2 or 3 months before the COVID boom. So I had like a nice little buffer there on some of my pricing on some of the things that I bought early. But then was doing that for a little bit and just got really like a lot of other people got really back into it super heavily. And then actually ended up working for Golden Auctions for a little bit over a year, from February of last year to May of this year. And then last 6 months or so decided to go back on my own and get back into making content on my own. And now we're
crushing it. You're absolutely crushing it. So thank you for the time, man. That's fantastic.
I appreciate that. It's been really fun. We had a great team at Golden, and when I was there, we grew their following from about 10,000 on all the platforms to about 250,000. So we had a really good run there, and then decided like, hey, you know what? I think I can do this on my own, and I just love this stuff. So I was like, all right, let's do it. And so just in the last few months, started to get back into it again. It's been really, really fun. It's been really cool to see the reception and the way that people talk about things and share the things that I'm making and putting out. And man, it's exciting. It's really cool.
That's actually pretty awesome. I can relate a little bit too. I used to collect a bunch of comic books. I sold my comic books to buy Pokemon. Then I sold my like a lot of my Pokemon stuff to get into sports. And then I understand that little grind and that switch into selling some of those items to kick off something
my
else.
My mom makes fun of me. She's like, it's just a revolving door. Like all you do is like you buy stuff and you sell it. And you buy stuff and you sell it. Like just keep something for once,
That's absolutely, that's the fun part behind it. That's like what makes it the fun. It's like the new, I guess, thrill of potentially finding something awesome and putting your heart and soul into something. It's a passion. The passion is the revolving door.
It totally is such a passion. And I mean, like, there's things that I know that I will probably never sell, but also tastes change and things change, and the way that you curate things change. And you're, a year or 2 years or 3 or 4 or 10 years into collecting, and you just realize something new or see something new or see something in a new light, and all of a sudden it just flips a switch, and you're like, oh, hey, you know what? Those 10 things, like, I'd rather sell that and buy that one thing, right? So that happens to me all the time. I find that I'm continually consolidating, and that bar for what I'm interested in just gets higher and higher all the time.
Yeah, 100%. So
that's definitely something I need to do. Like you really like fine tune and focus on what I wanted to collect. It started out with collecting everything and then realizing you're going to get overrun. So then it's just about consolidating down to just
Jen, I'll tell you, man, if I had the serious bankroll that I wish I had, I probably would have, like, I probably would just buy everything. But like with my like limitations, I'm like, okay, like I have to, like, there would be times where I like go and buy some random card and like no, I gotta like focus on my gold prism collection, right? Like, or I gotta focus on like these GameCube video games or whatever it is. And so yeah, I try to like I have a few PCs that are like really cheap, but also like really hard to find some of the stuff that I want. And it's like I said before, my pops worked at Hershey Foods, right? And he did a lot of the sports marketing there. So they sponsored NASCAR cars for like Kevin Harvick and Johnny Sauter and Clint Boyer. And my dad like designed the paint schemes for the NASCAR cars. But they were only running like alternate races, so it wasn't a full season thing. So like there's a few cards if you go back where it's like, Harvick's in the Reese's Fire suit, or like the Payday this or the Hershey's that. Like I always try and buy those and find the numbered versions and parallels. And it's like, those can be $3 cards, but they do. It's like, it's so fun, right? Like I have this collection where it's really about like something that I really, really care about, but it's also simultaneously an investment. And then I have these like cheaper collections where things are hard to find, but like that $5 card can do as much for me as like a $5,000 or $10,000 card can. So it's fun to have both of those areas.
I have a lot of cheap collections. One of them was my Lori marketing collection. I was collecting them all the time because he went to Arizona. I basically collect Arizona Wildcat players. Nice. And all of a sudden now he's popping off and all his cards are going up to, up by 150, 175%. They're going from, $5 now to 110. And it's like, whoa, it's getting a little difficult now all of a sudden.
You're like, wait a second, am I selling this PC now? I saw a video like yesterday of I think it was platinum card breaks, and they like ripped what, like a Nebula Lori marketing card? Was that a real video?
Yeah, it was like
so.
I think the customer was like, he wanted him to put it in a top loader, but he wanted to put it in the mag, and then I think while he was putting it in the mag and closing it, I think he might have pinched the corner or pressed into it, and then he was getting upset, and the guy was like, G was like, well, this is my card, whatever, and then he took a box cutter and he just cut it up. And he was
someone in the break got the card and he ripped it.
Yeah, and he just
that's so
then he said he gave him his money back. But I mean, can you imagine? Like, you want that card.
I would
and then
sue.
you just get back, you know, whatever the break cost was, or maybe they gave him extra, who knows. But he's had a lot of controversy.
I saw that video and I was like, that can't be real. So now that I have that context, that is 100% like a full-on tweet, video, description of what happened. I might come back to you for all the details to make sure I get it right.
Well, I mean, he's been full of controversy, especially like throwing away that redemption, or, you know, he threw away the redemption from an NT break. And then people don't know if that's if it was like you know, replaced with a different, you know, redemption. And so there's Platinum Breaks has a lot of controversy behind it. I used to break with them, and then once all of this stuff started coming to light, I was just like, I can't, you know.
He's the same guy that pulled a box cutter on an employee.
Yeah,
I saw that.
I don't know if that was jokingly, or, but even if it's a joke, I mean, you know, I don't think anybody,
not a funny joke.
No boss should do that as a joke to their employees, especially when you're live. But.
Can we get some normal breakers? Is that too much?
Right.
Right. This is like I have a few. There's a few out there.
There are a few. I'm giving them, you know, some of these guys. You know, when I do have that itch, some nights I'm just like, all right, fine. Like, I'm gonna go on, like, rip something live. But personally, like, I prefer to, like, just ship stuff to myself and open it myself. I feel like that's.
Oh yeah.
That's how we are. Yeah. Hence why we open up a bunch of products. Real quick, a shout out with the $5 super chat. Panini is rigged. It is what it is. The hobby is alive.
Oh, professional accounting. So if you need any accounting services.
I had to file extension on the taxes, and I finally just got my bill for 2021.
Problem.
Oh, yeah, like another 26 grand I owe in taxes.
Oh man, that's tough. Hey, well,
next year is going to be bad.
Tax law? No. You got. There's probably. I mean, look, there's a lot of cards that are down right now. So if you do some tax laws harvesting, I mean, now's the time, right? I figure there's going to be a glut of stuff like in this December premiere from like Golden and from PWCC. I'm expecting, like, I think this November auction was crazy. I mean, maybe they had to have it in November to get funds and stuff and have it all be done by year end. But I think the December auction might be pretty packed too for some people that are trying to get some losses.
Just take a $1 million loss, offset all those profits you made.
Yeah, and then bye Lootbox LLC. Well, real quick, you touched on it a little bit before about making these posts and talking about the hobby. One of the ones more recently, I believe, was back in October, like mid-October. You made a tweet that, you know, you were already big and popping, but that tweet got some national attention from a lot of individuals, and it was the backyard breaks. Basically, they pulled all these one-of-ones, and you decided to do some numbers on that. So tell us what inspired you to get, you know, to dive in deep with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there was enough coincidence there that there was a lot of speculation from people before I said anything, right? Like, I wasn't the person who came up with the idea that there might be something fishy there. I think there were a lot of people that were sort of speculating initially, like, wow, you got like these 3-4 product hits out of the biggest 3 or 4 products. So, like, something odd might be going on, right? And I'm a math guy. It's like I'm a math minor in college, and, you know, have always excelled, particularly with probability. And this is basically a big probability problem. And so I'm like, hey, I know the math behind this and what it would take to, like, actually solve for the probability of this happening. So, like, I'm just going to do it and sort of see what that yields. And that's what I did. And obviously the numbers sort of speak for themselves. I didn't put too much opinion into what I did, very little actually. Tried to avoid giving opinion because I think that can sometimes muddle things up. But the numbers really do speak for themselves. And I think, you know, if the numbers weren't what they were, the post would not have gotten the attention that it did, right? I think people quickly realized, like, oh gosh, you know, this is probably not nothing. So yeah, I mean, that's sort of how I came to do that whole thread there.
Well, you could tell that you put a lot of effort and time into it and really did your research as much as you possibly can. You know, I know they didn't really give anybody any context whatsoever because they didn't release, you know, how much they get from, you know, any type of distributor or from Panini itself. Panini didn't really comment on anything. So, I mean, you're really just trying to estimate as best as your ability. I know there was a couple of individuals that challenged you on the math, right?
There were some people
have you seen
that, like,
some of that?
Look, I mean, I think most of the people that challenge me on the math, I'll say a few places where people challenge me. One is like, well, they rip a lot, and like it just is what it is. It's like, well, I took that into account in the numbers, right? Like if people are like, people like, if people want to disagree with the math, that's fine. They want to say like, hey, like I think this input is wrong, I think that input is wrong, great. But some people are just like, they rip a lot. It's like, okay, that's not like an actual sort of refute of the math there, right? One of the things that I did see was people are like, hey, you didn't include Prism hobby boxes. And that is correct. I did not include Prism hobby boxes because with Prism hobby, as you guys would know, there's all these different parallels, and a lot of those parallels will appear in different products and boxes. And so it's really hard to calculate. Actually, you can't calculate how many of the Prism hobby boxes there actually are. And so, because that number was not actually knowable, I didn't even want to put it in. Now, the thing that I would add to that is like, hey, look, if you add all the Prism hobby boxes in there, the odds become like even significantly longer to hit all those cards, right? So I just use Prism FOTL because you can calculate how many there are. I forget the exact numbers, but I think it's 2 shimmers per box, and all the shimmers have a known print run, and so that allows you to calculate the number of FOTL boxes. But I assume the hobby box print run is probably like 10, 20x the FOTL print run, and so the numbers would have gotten incredibly wonky if I actually added those in. It's a valid thing to say that I didn't, but I'm trying to think. There's maybe 1 or 2 other things. One of the things was like we didn't know exactly how much wax that backyard broke, and I used some numbers to sort of calculate my best estimates. And so if people want to refute those estimates, I think that's a legitimate conversation to have. But there are multiple parties that know the exact amount of wax that backyard broke, and if they actually just if they knew that those numbers were way less than what I said, or way higher than what I said, they would come out and say like, hey, we actually ripped this much wax. Like, so your math is wrong, right? But my sort of intuition is like, well, they probably ripped way less than the super conservative estimate that I made, which makes the odds incredibly long. And that's probably why no one's saying anything, right? And I want to say too, like, I don't intend to be the face of like anti-backyard, right? Like I really respect what they've built. It's not for me. I don't consume their content really. It's not like the type of breaks that I'm personally into, but I respect that they built like this marketing behemoth, right? And they've done a lot for the industry in a lot of ways. Not my cup of tea, but some people do really enjoy it, and that's fine. So I'm not like here to be like, yeah, backyard sucks. Like F those guys. Like that's not my speed. That's not ever really how I was, but it was sort of funny. Like as I put this very objective mathematical analysis out, there were like all these anti-backyard people like, go Eric, and all these like pro backyard people like, Eric, like, you don't understand anything. And I'm like, guys, like this is not really like a hit piece or not a hit piece. It's just like it's objective mathematics, right? And so I thought that was sort of funny to like overnight become the face of like anti-backyard when I've been like pretty publicly like supportive of the fact that they built something awesome.
Yeah, and even we talked about it before we went live. Like, there's been even times where you openly stated that they might not even know what's actually going on. So, I mean, you've been very genuine in your efforts. So there's no doubt in my mind, like you're not here to put slander on anybody. You're just trying to figure out something that looks kind of fishy.
Yeah, and I mean, truthfully, look, we said this before we even got started here, but it's like when there's so much money at stake, right? Like you go back 5 years, there's not really hardly any cards that when they come out of the product are worth even much more than 10 grand, right? And now, like even LeBron Exquisite RPAs were like 3-4 grand out of the gate. So it's like, and that was like the card then, right? So now in 2022, there are cards that when they come out of the product are worth 7 figures. This is like an astronomical jump from how it was even 3, 4, 5 years ago. And so to just sort of assume that like with all that money at play, right? And like all this profit that people could make from a couple little shady dealings and no oversight, to then assume that there's no corruption there at any level would be one of the most naive takes in human history, right? Like I think there needs to be some oversight here. And that was one of the really weird things about putting that thread out. It was like all of a sudden Leighton and Blez started like attacking me. And I was like, guys, like I didn't mention you, Blez. I've done like probably $10,000 of business with you. I wasn't like really saying these things too publicly, but like in my head, what in the world? Why is this happening? And, some people are like, oh wait, this is like a bigger conspiracy than anyone thought. Like maybe they're getting loaded boxes too. And then like, that sort of like, oh my gosh, is that really the case? Like wore off a little bit. And like, maybe it is. And I don't know. I haven't really, there's a whole deep mathematical analysis to do here that, would take, probably like a team of people to really do. But as that sort of wore off, I'm like, oh, well, what they really don't want is regulation in this industry. right? Because the second this gets regulated, like sports betting or gambling, then Barstool's the winner in wax, right? And like, because they're going to like go and get all the licensing, or DraftKings or someone's going to like figure it out. And it's not like, I'm telling you, if this becomes a regulated industry, Blez, Leighton, Backyard, they're all toast. They're all done. It's over, gigs up. Yeah. And so that's why I think they sort of came to the defense and are like, oh, there's no way it's rigged, right? Because they don't want there to be oversight. They don't want there to be regulation.
Right. Well, you talk about regulation. What do you think of the Fanatics piece? Do you think Fanatics is going to bring some type of level of regulation to the table? They're already cutting out the distributors and everything else, right? I mean, that's been one of their big pushes.
Yeah, I mean, distributors need to be cut out. They don't provide a whole lot of value. And I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something pretty controversial here. Hobby shops need to be cut out. Period. Point blank. They need to go away.
Wow.
So. And my take on that too is like, I come from the sneaker and streetwear world, right? And so like, if you go into some mom and pop nasty old shop that looks like it's out of the 1990s and they have a sneaker account, like I guarantee you their sneaker accounts are like, I don't know, like Sanuk and like maybe some like cheap Pumas or like Hokas, right? And it's like no hate to those guys, but like they're not going to have like the tier 1 Nike accounts where they're getting like Jordan 1s. Right. But who are the people that get the Jordan 1s? It's these stores, these storefronts that have beautiful stores in beautiful retail locations, often in metropolitan hubs. Right. So it's like you go to New York City and there's 5, 6, 8, 10 different sneaker shops that have these tier 1 accounts, but you go in and they're beautiful and they're incredibly well curated, and they have, the Jordans next to, the Off-White next to maybe the Kith. Right. And so it's like, there's a value that these sneaker shops provide to Nike. And it's like, hey, look, you get this sort of brand equity of working with us because we're really cool. We're really high end. We're really nice. And you get to appear alongside these other really great brands and in a retail storefront that's absolutely beautiful in one of the biggest cities in the world. What do hobby shops provide? Hobby shops are getting like Prism for 50% of what we pay for it on Card World. And for what? You go in there and most of them look like they're out of the 1990s or even like earlier. These like dinosaur companies. And so like they don't provide a whole lot of value, if any. Sometimes they even provide negative value because there's like a brand hit because these hobby shops are so gross and old and poorly run. And then like Fanatics and is supposed to give them like 50% of a margin. So it's ridiculous. And so like what I really want to see is I want to see in that way in particular, I want to see card shops and the card industry go the way of the sneaker industry, which is like beautiful retail storefronts. And those ones get some really high-end accounts and get the really, really great product that people line up for. But then these other shops that are outdated in the middle of nowhere, like they should sort of be left to die, in my opinion.
So to talk about that a little bit and unpack it, I know just by talking to people that Fanatics is making some hobby shops update their storefronts, get a little bit cleaner, move things around, be more of not necessarily that Apple approach or anything like that, but providing a better space for collectors to come in. That has been something on Fanatics' list that they have gone into a lot of card shops that, Jen and I talk to and get those out. Now, I don't know if I agree 100% with the hobby shop thing, because I hearing and understanding some of the struggles that they go through with, right? Obviously, Panini Direct, right? If they have Panini Direct, great for them. They do get somewhat of a deal and they're able to sell product. Now, after they get done to that particular product, allocation from Panini Direct is only a one-time thing. And they have to go through these distribution centers, and these distribution centers are what I strongly feel are probably one of the biggest issues in the hobby, because they take product and they dictate price. Yeah. They say, hey, hobby shop, if you're selling this product, you have to pay me, if a box is normally $500 retail, I'm going to charge you $600. Yep. What do you mean you're going to charge me $600?
There's so many middlemen in this process too, that and who pays the price for that? It's the end consumer, right? So like by cutting out some of this distribution and some of these hobby shops, ultimately what you're going to get is you're going to get better product for cheaper.
Yeah, that's fair. Real quick, I just want to address 2 super chats. Yo, shout out my contribution to the next hobby box. Love watching the rips, brother. I appreciate it. I'm gonna hit you up about those lamellos that you have here pretty soon. And shout out here with the $1.99 super chat. Every old hobby shop is crying right now. There you go.
Hey, the old hobby shops aren't up to speed on this live stream. They're like, they don't even know how to use the internet.
There's a lot of them trying. There's a lot of them trying to figure out. I don't agree with JW a lot. He's a fanboy of Jen. We go back and forth, but I agree with his statement here.
I totally understand. I'll go ahead and read it.
Yeah, our hobby shops provide entertainment that has value, right? The socialization.
I will address that one for sure, which is like there is some value there, but like I would ask, everyone's like, oh, I have like all these memories, like met all these people. It's like, okay, well, like how many hobby friends do you know? One, and then two. And I would ask, like, everyone who's listening to this should like do this exercise in their head. How many hobby related friends do you have? One. How many of them did you meet at your local hobby shop? Two. And like that is probably 1% or less of the hobby friends that you have you actually met at your local hobby shop. And so like I think that's more of a myth than a reality, right? I don't know that it really goes that way. And by the way, like you can still have some hobby shops that exist, but they're probably going to be more like selling retail product and lower end product than like having the really high end nice stuff that should be, really limited for these tier 1 accounts of the really, really nice, stores in big cities.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair. I think a hobby shop will probably be in the areas where there's not a lot of stores or a lot of access to getting the product. A lot of the small town areas, I think a hobby shop would be great there. When you get into big cities, man, it's going to be difficult for a traditional hobby shop to kind of survive that, right? There's going to be many places.
I would say like one of the funny things that I saw, and this sort of relates to like it's nice to have like a hobby shop in sort of this rural area, which I totally understand because like I was from a rural area and I bought a lot of stuff in my hobby shop growing up. But like the world is changing, right? Like people can just go on the internet and buy whatever product they want, sort of at whatever point, right? And that hasn't always been true. And the other thing too, like always bothered me so much was when all these like it was always like these super old white dudes that would get mad about like, how come there's not any wax at Target? There needs to be wax at Target for the kids. Kids can't get wax anymore. And it's like it's never been like when those shelves were completely bare, it was like never easier for a kid to buy wax in their lives.
And it never
right? Like well, it's just like they could just like all these kids, they don't like go to Target and Walmart like that. They want an item, they'll just go buy it on StockX or eBay or on Instagram or whatever, and they'll just go buy it. Like there was never more access to cards than like during that time. And it's like it's this weird argument of like kids don't have access. Like you ever heard of the internet? Like that's where people are buying the stuff anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. So on to a next piece, because I want to make sure that we keep the motor running here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Recently, Panini was in a lawsuit. We're talking about Panini. We're talking about products. Recently, they were in a lawsuit about the redemptions, right? When it looks like an individual sued them, and a judge or the courts ruled basically no one else can seek compensation based on like someone else's lawsuit. If you want to go after Panini, you're going to have to do it yourself, right?
Ooh, that's no class action lawsuit, huh?
Correct. Yeah. And then that's a big deal for Panini in a sense of a win. But at the end of the day, how do you think this lawsuit overall is going to go? Because that still doesn't address the issue of the actual redemption piece where they're not getting their cards back. I mean, you're paying half these products. I mean, on our channel, some of the biggest pulls that we've ever have been stupid redemptions because the possibility of it. Have we even gotten those cards yet? No, I think Drew, you have a bunch of redemptions. I still have redemptions I'm waiting on. Dude Luck, our buddy who, opens up product every now and then with us. He has monster LaMelo Ball cards that are still 2 years in the making that haven't been signed yet. So what's your thoughts on that particular piece?
Well, I'll start by saying, like, I don't really understand the mechanics of what constitutes something being worthy of a class action lawsuit versus not. Like, that's like something you need like Paul Lesko for. So I don't know. Like, I'm not here to judge on whether it's like the right ruling or not, right? Like, I don't know how exactly that works, but certainly it's a big win for Panini in the sense that they're not going to be like liable to do, pay all these out or whatever that might be as a result of this particular case. Now, what's going to be interesting is like if this guy wins his case, or I don't know, is it maybe two guys on this case? I forget exactly what it is. But if they win their case, like, is there then going to be a slew of lawsuits like coming towards Panini, like 100 different lawsuits in one day of people with big redemptions that have been waiting on them for a long time? So I don't know exactly how that would go. I mean, that's probably like a bigger Paul Lesko question, but my thoughts on like redemptions in general, I think some people really hate them. But I would call them something of a necessary evil. These companies, people lose sight of how much these are really logistics companies more than anything. And sourcing like all these autographs of all these players for a specific set at a specific time is really, really hard. And, athletes in general, this is not true of all of them, but in general are harder to work with than like your average person. Right. And so some of them are going to be like, not worry about it, just forget about it, not reply, whatever. Right. And so like, I have sympathy for Topps and Panini in the sense that that's a really, really tough logistics business to try to be sourcing autographs of all these guys all the time. Now, the only way you could work around ever really needing redemptions is by like doing sticker autos instead. Right. And so like, that's not something that people want either. So it's like, pick your poison.
Especially
right?
on these high-end cards, right?
You sort of have to have one or the other. Right. And so that's one of the other things too, is like with sticker autos, like I think sticker autos are good and need to stay around for a couple of reasons. One is like, if you really want to do on-card autos only, then like you're going to have way less autos and products every year, because it's just going to be like really hard to source and do that. And the other thing too is, sticker autos, I think, add more value to the on-card autos, right? So if a player has like 10,000 autographs, like a lot of these players do today, and 9,900 of them are stickers and 100 are on-card, well, that's how you make the on-card autos more valuable, right? If like all 10,000 were on card, well, then there wouldn't really be like a premier elite level of autographs. And so, I think the sticker autos, if you want autographs in products, sticker autos are a necessary evil. And if you want to have every card in a high-end product be on card, then you need to have redemptions. So like I think you sort of have to have some of these things. Now, where it gets really like stupid is just like when they're not redeeming redemptions and not replying to people. And it's like, clearly what is happening there is Panini like just knows that their clock is running, right? Like they're losing the licensing deals. They're probably going to get bought by Fanatics. I don't even know how that whole thing is gone. It's like they bought them, they didn't, they bought them, they didn't. And so they're just trying to milk this thing for all it's worth. And like, they would rather give that burden to Fanatics or whoever the next person is that acquires them and like try to figure it out on their own. It's not particularly hurting their market value, in my opinion, in terms of like actually being acquired. It's just like this issue that they can pass on to the next owners while maximizing profits right now. And it's so much of what they're doing too, by just like running the printers on these licenses while they have them. Right. So I think it's like, it's one of those weird scenarios where it feels like, to me, it feels like a low integrity, high profit move. I think that's what it is. And I just think that's how it's going to be until someone else takes charge. And personally, like, I don't really buy many autograph cards. Like I'm not a huge believer in autograph cards in general. I kind of like the true, like just a card. It doesn't need an autograph. It doesn't need a patch. It doesn't need these things to try to like enhance it. Like there's something like, maybe I'm like something of a purist, but I really just like when you can make a trading card really valuable and really important without having to add any of these sort of exterior elements to it. That's when I think it's like, I think there's something really unique and great about that. And it's like, I collect the gold prisms from the Panini Prism World Cup sets, right? It's like kind of funny. I have like 20 raw ones like sitting here. So like fan these out. It's like kind of a flex. These are like mostly, lame players, but like I don't buy the autos. Like I don't buy the autos for those, because it's like, well, one, Prism is sticker autos, which is like a little less exciting, but two, I just think like, this to me is like the real deal. Like if you can make a card without any exterior elements and have it be valuable and important, like then you've made a really good card. And these other cards are they really actually good cards? Or is it just like, there's like, well, we put like a cool piece of a patch in it. It's like, are you buying the patch? You buying the card?
The patch is not even player worn half the time these days, right?
Yeah, not even player worn, by the way, is a low bar. like player worn's not that hard to do.
They just put it on and then take it off, and it's player worn.
Like, have you all seen that picture? I think it was like Mark Ingram at some like photo like some Topps thing when he was like a rookie, and he has like 30 jerseys on.
Yeah. I actually saw like a little video. They were like making it a commercial because it was a joke, I think, or something like that. But I remember seeing that. Oh man, we got one interesting thing here. Obviously, it's probably a little bit more satire, but I do want to bring it up. I don't know. Sports card show. I don't know how real this is, but do you think I have a case for a lawsuit? I've been waiting since 2017 for a CMC Absolute Glass rookie, no auto. Those have to be redeemed because they are the glass cards. They don't want them to break. I've redeemed one. Jen, I know you.
One, yeah. We
got ours pretty quickly, so waiting on that. Obviously, all jokes aside, I don't think you can sue, but you have a case here. Like, Panini, why haven't you even given me this non-auto card yet?
Well, you can probably sue. I would just say it's probably not going to be worth the legal fees for a Christian McCaffrey glass rookie card.
The dude is made of glass, so I mean,
yeah. Well, it is like, That's one of the nice things too about not really, I don't buy many autograph cards. It's like I've had like 2 redemption cards in my life, right? And so like I don't like deal with this redemption problem personally. So it's like sometimes it feels like far removed. But yeah, it seems like redemption cards should really only be for like cards that can't go in packs because they're either glass or like too big, or you know, like the auto that you need to get. But that's like, you know, there's not a single gold prism that's a redemption.
Yeah. Very true.
That's true. That's true. So Eric, with the, you know, we've seen big cards sell for huge losses. We've seen, you know, first time big cards come up on the market. So what are your thoughts on like the high end card market? Is this just a thing like we've talked about, people just trying to offset their profits by taking losses on these cards? Or I mean, why are people trying to sell like this, like the Luka, the $4.6 million Luka sold for like what,
3.2, I think
3.2
so,
or 3.1, somewhere around there?
Yeah, this is a really good question. We talked a little bit too off air about this, but there is some component of this that has to do with at the end of a year, people will sell cards at a loss so that they can apply it to their taxes and get a tax benefit. There is some component of that. I do think that is why the last PWCC auction and Golden Elite auctions were loaded, as people are like, hey, look, you know, maybe I don't really believe in this thing anymore. I'm going to lose $300,000 on it, but like I'll get a $160,000 tax benefit. So I'm just going to sell it now and then not worry about it. Right. So there is some piece of it, probably talking about like 5 or 10% of it, that is like, that has to do particularly with that. There is a huge component of this that is macroeconomics that like you can't overlook, right? Like the stock market getting crushed, stocks getting, or cryptos getting crushed, right? And like a lot of these things are getting absolutely smoked. And like if cards were up 20% right now, that would be like ridiculous. Even if cards were down only 10% or 20%, like that would be really, really good against like the rest of the markets out there. And so I think there's an issue too where some of these cards just aren't as good as people say they are, right? and in some cases auction houses are to blame, in some cases influencers are to blame.
Oh, 100%.
Oh yeah.
And in some cases things just sort of happened organically and it just got out of hand weird, and I don't know, there's all sorts of things that happened in the last 2 years. But like the Michael Jordan Fleer card, like you can't use that as a barometer for market health, because that card should have never stinking been anywhere near $750,000 for pop 360 or whatever it is. It's ridiculous. That card is available in every auction from here until eternity, period. Right? Like there's always going to be one available. The other cards that I just think ran up too much too fast. The LeBron to 99. That card is like, that's a good card. LeBron has 10 better rookie cards than that card. The Brady contenders to 100, the champ ticket to 100.
Yeah.
That's a very good card. That should have never been like $1 million card in a BGS 8, right? Like Brady has better cards as well. Brady has, I think he has several 1-of-1 rookie cards. He has the 1-of-1 masterpiece. And like that card too ran up so much so fast, and everyone knew where all of them were, that like that card is available in almost every auction. Like the cards that are available in every stinking auction can't run up that high, because like then you're going to need 20 people that are willing to buy it at that price for it to maintain its price. Right. Like when that card, I was looking at here, actually, I'm going to pull it up. The LeBron RPA to 99. I was putting this tweet together a couple of days ago. I didn't put it out yet, but you'll get a little sneak peek at one of the tweets here. So the LeBron RPA, that's not that exciting. The LeBron RPA to 99. Let me see. So that card has been sold way more recently than in the past, right? So in 28, I'm pulling off a card ladder here. In 2018, that card sold. How many times do you think that sold? Just any LeBron RPA to 99.
I'll say 10.
0.
Oh wow.
What? Really?
2019. 3. 2020. 4. 2021. 7. 2022. When I put this tweet together, I think it's at least 11 and counting now for this year alone. Right. Jeez. And so it's like, and the reason that these things are coming to the market is because when the price flies up so much so fast, and there's like a reasonable quantity out there and people know where they are, like this, we're not talking about like old star rubies or green PMGs where people can't find them. This is like a relatively modern product that the second it came out, it was super valuable. That's one of the things that I think is overlooked is it benefits a product to not be seen as something super valuable the second that it comes out, right? Because every stinking person who hit one of those LeBron exquisite RPAs put it right into a one touch or sent it right to BGS or PSA and boom. And like that card is never getting lost in a shuffle anywhere. But people who like pulled green PMGs, like how many of those are sitting in binders or got thrown out? Like that wasn't, you know, that was like a cool card when it came out, but like if you got a random green PMG of a player, people weren't like, what was that, $8-10 at like release? Like, you know, like it wasn't a big deal. And people weren't like, and that wasn't an overly expensive product when it came out either. And so like people were just sort of losing those in the shuffle and they weren't really seen as valuable cards. I think it's why you'll see too, like 2012 Prism basketball has the golds of those surfaced significantly more than the golds of 2014 Prism World Cup soccer, right? Because like basketball collectors knew and were savvy, and this was like, you know, that was a really big product and relatively expensive for the time. And then like the Prism World Cup came out and that was like a much more international product, got ripped like a ton in Peru and China and Japan, like all these places. And it's like, you know, it was $100 a box when it came out and gold prisms of random players were $6-8. So like those things, like people weren't like, those didn't get treated the same way that LeBron exquisite RPAs got treated. And so they didn't even get treated the same way that 2012 gold prisms from basketball got treated. And so in that way, like I do think there's this sort of interesting paradox where a product can benefit from a card coming from when a product can benefit from when the card coming out not being seen as really high end and valuable, and then later people going back to it. And so like I think there's something about that where, you know, the red Jordan PMG has the same exact quantity. Well, it technically has 90 made, right? Because the first 10 are the green.
10
so let's
green,
almost has the exact same printed quantity as the LeBron RPA to 99. But then you look at those two and it's like, well, how many of the red Jordans have sold in the last year versus how many of the LeBron RPAs to 99? They've both had a similar run up, but one of them, like people just don't know where they are. And I think that is something that people really, really don't consider when they think about like what cards might make sense to buy, because the problem is when a card runs up a ton and people know where the card is, then you have tons of people rushing to sell and you need to have 10, 20 buyers lined up in order for the price to maintain its new levels. And that's like, that's where a lot of the high end card market falls off, because you have like all these LeBron, I mean, it falls off, right? It's still way higher than it was 2-3 years ago. But like, that's why some of these prices that ran up so fast can't sustain, is because all these collectors have these cards and the second those prices run up, they're wanting to sell them. And now you don't have all the bidders underneath to support, you know, those new prices. And so I think that's part of it too. That's like sort of this is a long-winded answer to your question. But for me, when some of those cards settle at new prices, I'm going to be excited about them. I'm still buying a lot of cards right now, even from an investment perspective, mostly from an investment perspective. I mean, I think if you were bullish in like mid 2021, like you need to also be bullish now, right? Yeah. Like maybe you're not bullish on the same cards, but if you were like industry hype and like, oh, I love these cards at these prices in 2021, like why wouldn't you just be smoking things right now at their current prices? So I'm long-term very bullish on cards. I love what they've done in general. I think there was a little bit of a weird run up here and it's obviously coming back down in a lot of places where it should. And some of these things I've seen too, I'm like, that's good. That needed to come down. Like like you can't have these random player RPAs to 99 being like $10,000. It's ridiculous. It's like, I was going through some old PWCC auctions tonight, and like these cards, like go look at like a 2017 PWCC weekly auction and what the prices were, like depress you. Like what like $10,000 does today versus then is like, it's absurd. But some of these things really needed to come down. I did think the RPA to 99 of LeBron needed to come down. The champ ticket Tom Brady needed to come down. The Fleer Michael Jordan needed to come down. All these NT RPAs, particularly the non-game worn stuff from like whatever it is 2017 to present, needed to get smoked, right? Like Pat Mahomes, Luka Doncic, Zion, all these rookie quarterbacks. People forget that like NT now has a ton of parallels too, right? You got like the Midnight and the Stars and Stripes, and it's like this is not sustainable, people. And these are not game worn patches. And this like I am like a huge hater on NT. In its current form, I'm a huge hater.
That's fair. That's fair. But these rookie quarterbacks though, in the modern hype, has absolutely been insane to watch how high they actually climbed. And now all these guys are getting benched. Zach Wilson, Davis Mills. And it's crazy for a Davis Mills rookie RPA. I think I saw someone had it up for like 20 grand at one point. Well, that type of nonsense when it comes to these rookie quarterbacks is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion.
So do you
look,
think...
I understand like some level of speculation on these guys, and there are times when I see like, yeah, like I think the Justin Fields Black Prism that just sold on PWCC for what was, I think it was under 100,000. Like to me, that's like a pretty good buy. Now, contingent on that person having $5-ish, $10-ish million elsewhere in cards and probably $50 to $100 million elsewhere, right? But like for the right person, that's a really good buy, right? Because it's like, okay, hey, this is 1% of my portfolio, and if it goes to zero, it's not a big deal. But it does have that, like, if he becomes the best quarterback of all time, 1% or less chance that it happens, probably. But it has that, like, it does have 100x upside. Like, you can't tell me that there's no chance that's a $7 million card if he becomes the next Tom Brady, right? So like, I see it, I get it, but it's for the really high end of guys that have best quarterback of all time in their possible range of outcomes. But it's really only a good buy for a very particular person, right? Like if some guys, like, I've got $150,000 to spend on cards, like, okay, I'm gonna buy the Fields 100,000. Like, you're gambling. It's fine, but it's like that is a gamble that has a high potential return, but a really low probability of being a positive ROI.
Right.
So, but Davis Mills, like, he was never going to be the best quarterback of all time. Like, when you spend 40,000 on that, just seems like, burning money a little bit.
I mean, those past two quarterback classes, I'm not talking about this past year, but Tua, Burrow, Herbert, and then this quarterback class with Mills, Lance, Fields, Jones, Wilson. I mean, I've never seen quarterbacks so hyped up ever. Now, the Joe Burrow class, he's starting to prove something. I mean, he made it to a Super Bowl. Justin Herbert looks like he's the real deal. Tua is, besides his injuries this year, has been balling. So they all look like they're going to have some longevity to them. Yep. These other quarterbacks during this year, I mean, Mac Jones took a giant step back. Wilson,
Trey Lance is hurt.
I'm with you. I like a lot of these guys that you're saying. Like, I like Tua. I thought he was going to have a really good year. Like, I like Joe Burrow. I think he's going to be around for a long time and be a great quarterback. But there's like the two problems to me, like, for why I'm not buying these things is, like, one, I think it's so priced in, and that, like, these guys would have to have such incredible careers for these cards to maintain value or go up long term. And two is, like, I think in some of this modern stuff, it's like there's just Joe Burrow has probably 5,000 different rookie cards, and that is a problem in two ways. One is, like, there's just a glut of supply, and that's problematic, obviously. But two, it's like it's hard to sort of pick the right card, right? Like, is the NTRPA to 99 going to be the big card for these guys? Like, my intuition says probably not. Like, if I was buying these guys, I would pretty much focus on, like, true color prism, non-autograph rookies of the base card. That's like, from what that's not modern football, modern basketball, not my number one area of expertise, but that's probably what I'd be buying if there was a rookie I wanted to bet on. But man, it's just like, and I've said this before, but it's way better to have the right card of the wrong player than the wrong card of the right player. And so I think when you buy modern basketball, modern football, and you're going outside of those true color prism cards, you're making a gamble on two things: the player and the product, right? Like, it's hard to know which ones are really going to stand the test of time. Whereas, like, if it's there's a tweet I did recently. It was like the Tom Brady prism base 2012 and a PSA 10 went from, like, whatever, $1,500 to $150. That's the right player. It's the wrong card. Then there was some random nobody from a green PMG who's over the same time period went from $300 to $1,500. And so to me, like, I think it's much easier, and maybe this is just from all the time I've spent in cards, but I think it's much easier to predict the sets that are going to be long-term important. I think it's way easier to do that than it is to predict the players that are active now that are going to be the superstars, right? And so, like, that's part of the reason that I'm like, I'm just going and buying every 2014 Prism World Cup gold I can find, is because, like, I know gold prisms are going to stand the test of time. That was the first big, like, modern soccer set ever made. The most recognizable soccer cards of all time, probably the Messi and Ronaldo out of that set. Like they're both in that set, right? And so it's like there's things to me where I'm like, okay, that's like an important set long term. And then it's like, you know, even as I think about like, okay, what would I buy in baseball? What would I buy in football? What would I buy in basketball? I go back to a lot of these like these really great sets that the players aren't like the key players, right? And it's like I'd maybe go buy like gold refractors of some of these guys from Topps Chrome. I'd buy Star Rubies. I'd buy Super Raves. I'd buy you know, Bowman Best Atomic refractors. I'd buy I don't know, a lot of those old 90s inserts that are numbered, right? And things like I might go buy, I'd probably go buy players that are like aren't top of the line, but like these things are hard to find and people collect these sets because like it's not hard to look at some of those 90s insert sets and be like, oh yeah, that's a winner, right? Like, and again, another benefit of those sets is like those cards weren't big when they came out. And so if there's 50 in circulation, there might only be 10 that people really know where they are, or 20 or whatever it is, right? So to me, like that's you know, that's sort of how I think about some of that product, but also it's like I don't dig too deep into some of those other sports because I'm like, man, I gotta stay focused on this soccer stuff. It's like if I expand too much, then like there's cards that come up that I need that I don't have the funds for. So I do try to stay pretty focused.
I would love to see you do a video of your top product of each sport. Like come out with like, hey, here's my 3 products I would probably do for football. Here's 3 I would do for basketball and baseball. That'd be kind of cool to see from your point of view.
Yeah, I could definitely do something like that. That'd be interesting. Yeah, even from like the soccer perspective, it's unique because there's just not really much in the way of modern product. Like numbered cards before 2014, there's like almost none, right? Which is like it's just like 2 decades behind every other sport. But then like there's not a 52 tops of soccer. You have 1958 Alifa, right, which has the Pele rookie, but there haven't been many other cards that have sold big in there, and it's a massive setting. It's 650 subjects. Like, are people going to go back and try and set collect that set? Like, I don't really think so. And there's like 1970 Panini World Cup stickers, which like makes sense because it's the first Panini World Cup product. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But again, it's like a lot of subjects, and there hasn't been like a real set that's like really caught on set collecting wise for soccer. But I mean, baseball, like 52 tops has to be in your arsenal for baseball. If you like say the best sets of all time and don't include that, it's a miss. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, that could be fun. I could probably pick out a few where I'm like, these aren't that expensive yet. You can get cheap players for $10-$20, but like I think. And
then your influence, it'll go up, and then we can blame you for that, and it'll be
great. He's market manipulation right there.
Yep, the pump and dump routine.
Actually, here we go.
How do you see us going into 2023? Like, do you see the market is finally going to start? Are we close to the bottom, or are we? I know it's always difficult.
Yeah, this is a $1 million question, right?
Right? Try to catch a falling knife. Never tried that, but I mean, how do you see us as we transition into 2023? You know, with the economy the way it is and everything like that, we expected. Do you not see us recovering until maybe like the summertime, like mid-year? We start to slowly get back into it, or is 2023 just going to be another
I will
year
say,
for everybody?
Even in downturns, there are cards that go up during the downturn, right? Yeah. And so everyone who came in during COVID thought they were a genius because everything they bought went up, but it wasn't because they were a genius. It was just because everything went up. But I would say right now, like there are things that are definitely falling knives where you're like, those still need to fall further. And I think people right now are asking the question a lot when they buy like, oh, am I getting a great card at a discount? And the truth is you're getting a card at a discount. The question is whether or not it's a great card, right? And so it's like, you need to look and be like, was this a card that just ran up too much and should have never been this high and is going to keep falling? Or is this truly a card that is a good card and will stand the test of time that I'm just getting at a price discount from where it was at 6-12 months ago? I think that cards, you know, the cards are like we've seen, they're not immune to macroeconomic conditions. I'm not a macroeconomic expert, so I'm not going to predict exactly how that goes. But I do think that if we see stock markets start to turn around, I think if we see crypto go on a little run, like those things are going to help cards, right? Yeah. Now, it's not like all those, like I think the stock market's more important than crypto. Like if crypto goes to zero, that doesn't mean cards are going to zero. If the stock market goes to zero, that means the world is over.
The world is over.
Yeah. So, you know, I would say stock market's probably going to be the leading indicator of the card market. And it's just, I do think too that getting past some of this tax loss harvesting in November, December will help a little bit. And I also think too, like, there needs to be catalysts for the card market to really move forward, right? So I think a couple of the big catalysts recently has been like the popularity of grading, right? I'm going to talk like last 20 years big catalysts, like the popularity of grading. That made the card market really, really boom and was a catalyst for a ton of growth. So really great thing there. I think vaulting is going to be is already starting to be a catalyst and will continue to be a huge catalyst of a lot of growth. It allows for you to do these instantaneous transactions. It allows for you to minimize your fees. And like part of it's like when you have to buy and ship and buy and ship and buy and ship and pay shipping fees on both sides, it's like you're losing a lot of your margin there, particularly if you're doing cheaper cards. And so like to get rid of a lot of that, to get rid of the sales tax and all that, like, and to make these transactions a lot more frictionless is something that's really, really beneficial for the card market. Now, as I look forward, I try to think about what other catalysts there might be that could really, really drive a lot of growth. I do think that vaulting will continue to really help as there's more vaults that pop up and some of them have more innovation and there's sort of this competition to like really, make the best product for the end user. I do think that's going to be a catalyst. I also think that Fanatics acquisition of Topps and Fanatics entry into the industry has the potential to be the single best thing that has ever happened to the card industry, period, full stop. It could also just be okay. It could be bad, but Fanatics, they are like this. It's finally happening where we have these dinosaur companies that have no innovation for the last 20 years. Someone with deep pockets and real interest in making it grow to be huge is buying it out. Someone that has proven success in the world of business is buying it out and trying to take it and make it way bigger than it is, right? Yeah. And to me, that points to something that could be a huge catalyst for a ton of movement in the industry. So I'm interested to see how that goes. These things do move slowly. I'm not thrilled that Josh Luber isn't there anymore. I'm a big believer in him, and I wish that he was still there.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I wish that he was still there because I know that he is something of an assassin. He just knows how to do things. He's had a lot of success in his career, and if I would feel a little bit more enthusiastic and confident about Fanatics being a huge catalyst for growth if he was still there, but even with him not there, I still think it has the potential to be that. So, I'm excited to see how that plays out, but these acquisitions and things move very slowly. Like people who haven't worked in big businesses will not really understand this, but like there's just a lot of red tape and sort of bureaucracy that occurs in these businesses. And even from the legal side, there's a lot of things that happen. And it's like, the second Fanatics takes over, it's not like they can change the product that's coming out in a month, right? I think that people were like, oh, mad, like Topps Chrome had all these problems and they're like blaming Fanatics. It's like Fanatics has like barely done anything with Topps yet. Like it's going to take some time. That product was like probably already made 6 months before Fanatics ever took over. So
I don't think you're not going to really see anything for at least another year and a half before they really even get their teeth sunk in on anything.
Yeah. But I'm excited to see what it is. And I will say, if there's anyone on this call, anyone listening to this right now that knows people at Fanatics and they're looking for people, I am willing and ready to help take that thing and make it a behemoth. So like my services are available. I want the card industry to win as much as anyone. I love it as much as anyone. Put me to the test on that. I mean, I'm probably with two guys that are about equally matched with me there on that one, but I love it as much as anyone at least. And I would love to work with Fanatics to try and make that thing just an absolute monster. So that's I guess I said there were no more plugs in this episode. I guess that's my other plug.
Hey, let's make it happen, man.
Let's make it happen.
So before we get to the last part, there was one question that came up. It was about soccer, so I figured I'd throw it out there. What do you think of 2020 Bowman MLS?
Now,
is it a short print on demand product?
This is a good insider question, and I know by virtue of this guy asking this that he knows what he's talking about. So yeah, I think so. This product was an on-demand product released only on Topps, printed to demand. One of the things that is not super intuitive about this product is they sold there was one parallel per pack, all numbered. They sold so little of it that they actually had to send loose parallels to people who bought boxes. So like you bought 6 boxes, they might have sent you like 20 parallels in the mail, like a set and like in the package with it that weren't even in the boxes. Now, they did make those the higher numbered parallels. So you have a higher chance of hitting the lower number parallels in these boxes than you think. But I do think that this has the potential to be a really important product. It's just dependent on a couple of players that come out of it. So you're looking at Brendan Aronson there, which his rookie is a hot card in there. I don't know if you're thinking about ripping this wax or you're thinking about just buying singles or whatever. generally am very anti-ripping wax. I do think that at the right price, this is one of the higher EV rips that you could do if you're just looking to rip something. Brendan Aronson, so like his 1-of-1's already been pulled out of here, but he's a big card in this set that could really drive it either way. Pepe is a big card in this set that could drive it either way. Daryl Dike is in here. Gianluca Busio is in here. Jesus Ferreira is in here. Some of these guys are like, is it a rookie? Is it not a rookie? Ferreira has a 2017 Topps Now card, but I think this is his first card after that. So like, there's enough big cards in this set that you can make an argument that it's going to be important. Gaga Slonina's in here is another really big rookie that like could drive this set over the top. But man, with like these modern products, you're always sort of betting on the rookie class, and there's enough guys in here to make me think could be big, particularly with the really low print run that's on it. But yeah, I have a few cards from this set. I have a few numbered Sloninas, I think. I love the U.S. men's national team guys and buying them. I think there's obviously a premium on U.S. soccer players, as there should be. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a real play here. Don't put all your money in it, but seems to me like it's a good bet to put a few bucks in, and I would say good chance it could go up a lot. There's also a chance that all those guys miss though, and it could drop. So I wouldn't put all your money in it, but it seems like it's a good question. It's a set that I have eyed quite a bit. So I think you're really onto something there.
Just real quick, Dude Luck wants to know how many feds are in here with the $5 super chat. Thanks, buddy. He asked if you were a Fed earlier. I don't know if you saw that.
Am I a Fed?
Yeah, are you a Fed O'Reilly?
I guess we'll find out when there's the C-SPAN hearing on the Panini backyard case, right?
Right.
So let's enter the final part of this. I got a couple more questions for you, and then we'll open it up to the audience. Guys, if you guys have any questions, there's going to be a little bit of time.
Someone said it's the stash. That's the giveaway. Oh man, I gotta trim up.
So what would it be if you had one thing to fix the hobby? One thing that you could point out, hey, think Fanatics is listening right now. What is the one thing that you would do right away? Just one thing you think the hobby needs ASAP, like a fix or something along those lines?
Only one?
Only one. Only one right now.
Oh man, but I got to pick out of my list of 1,000. It's crazy.
Something that just comes to mind.
I will preface this by saying cards are stinking awesome, right? They're so fun. They're so addicting. They elicit such like an emotion when you get the one that you've been looking for a long time, or the one that you wanted when you were a kid or had when you were a kid. They're just the best. And so I say that because I think Topps and Panini kind of both suck, right? Like they do so much wrong, and it's like it's as if they're just like trying to get in the way at like every step. And they do some things right. I don't want to hate on them entirely, but like there's so much they do wrong, and yet cards have become what they have become. So like imagine if someone really gets it right. Now, if I could change one thing, I would probably just say like you just got to get rid of about 90% of parallels. Like there's just so many, and it causes so many problems. It causes so much confusion for new entrants, and it causes this, like every new parallel you introduce of a card, it decreases the value of every other parallel. It's way too much. And if every card's a 1-of-1, then no card is a 1-of-1. So I would really like to see them cut down on parallels. If you gave me a couple other things, I would say everything has to be at least player worn. None of this like fake the enclosed memorabilia is not from any specific game, player, or event, and was purchased at Dick's Sporting Goods. I always call the modern RPAs Dick's Sporting Good patches. So yeah, I mean, I think the big thing though is I would really cut down. I would cut down on the parallels. I would make a low end product that I run the printers on like crazy, and I'm not apologetic about that. Top Series 1 base retail, we're running the printers like mad. You get as many packs of that as you want. But when it comes to Topps Chrome Sapphire, like we're limiting that. We're keeping the same parallels every year. We're not adding any more. The print run stays the same. Print run stays the same. Prices go up. We win, right? Like, and I will run the printers on the cheaper stuff, but like that, particularly that that high end product, I think there needs to be a clear delineation between like this is a retail product, this is a hobby product. We got lost in that with like Select. Everyone's like Select's like the next big thing, whatever. It's the next high end product, and they started releasing all this retail. Now it's like Select.
And with their
ton of
different die cuts.
Oh,
I loved opening that football and wondering like, wow, I've got like 30 different die cuts in this. It's like which one is
that's what we need. Yeah,
if
I could change one more thing about the industry, I'd probably make more die cut parallels. You know, just more die cut parallels.
Everyone should be die cuts.
So we got another $10 super chat here. Another question for you. Dude Luck has an artesian well on his property and the water pressure is lousy. Any suggestions?
Oh man, suggestions.
Smaller
for that
pipes.
Do you watch Family Guy at all?
I don't watch Family Guy too much, but there was a good Seinfeld. There was a good Seinfeld water pressure episode I watched a couple nights ago. I've been working my way through Seinfeld. So
on Netflix. I watched that whole series. Yeah. Love Seinfeld. Yeah. All right, you answer something bad about the hobby. Now, what's one thing good about the hobby that you absolutely love?
Well, I sort of said it earlier. I really love cards. I really do. Like I spend an exorbitant amount of hours on eBay looking for things and finding things. And I love, any collector will know this, the thrill of the hunt is really, really fun. And that sort of treasure hunt and trying like the lengths that I have gone to try to find specific cards is sort of ridiculous, right? Like I'm going back and watching breaks on YouTube from 2016 and contacting the guys and like being like, hey, you pulled this like Russian gold prism. Like, do you know who bought it? Like going back and trying to find that person and like find the person that they sold it to, who they sold it to. And it's like, when you finally find the thing that you're looking for that you've been chasing for so long, it's like such a rush and it's so fun. And I really, really enjoy the hunt. And that can happen with just about any collectible category, right? Like even some of these video games behind me, it's like Super Monkey Ball. I don't know if you guys are
Super
GameCube
Monkey
guys.
Ball. Oh,
Super Monkey Ball is a game that like this changed my life. I played this game like so many hours as a kid. I swear I had, whatever records on however many of the levels and stuff. And it's like, I was trying to find this game anywhere, literally anywhere, like any sealed copy of this game. I could not find one. I eventually got a super ripped up one for like $300. And it was kind of like literally like water damage, case all ripped, whatever. And, so I was like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to search Super Monkey Ball on Instagram. And I did. And I went through probably 10,000 posts. And towards the very end, I found someone with a 9.8 A copy, right? Which is like the highest grade of this thing that you'll ever find. And so I DM'd him and he didn't reply. And I DM'd him and he didn't reply. And I DM'd him and he replied and he said, not for sale. And then I DM'd him and I DM'd him and I DM'd him. I said, give you this price, give you this price, give you this price. And finally it's like, okay, you really want this game, I'm going to sell it to you. Right. And so it's like that. And I know I'm talking about a video game now, but like the same thing applies for cards. It's like when you have that, when you have that chase, man, it's so fun and you make friends along the way and talk to people all the time. Like I have a group text of some of my college buddies and new friends that I've made along the way, a coworker from Golden and two of my best college buddies and a friend that I made after college. We literally text in there every single day, like different links to different cards and what we think and what we're doing. And we get super hyped for each other when we pull a big card or find a big card. And like, there's a really fun community aspect to it too. And I think the chase really builds that community aspect as well. So I don't know. I'm like talking about the 6 things I like about cards now, but yeah, cards are fun. Cards are really fun.
It shows the passion, my man. Well, let's open it up for some Q&A. Eric, thank you so much, man. It's fantastic, man.
Yeah, this was really fun, guys. I'm excited for this Q&A now. See what rolls in. Hopefully we get some steamy questions. I don't want like what's your favorite 2007 Top Series 1 base card? I'll give us some good stuff.
It'll be
hard hitters.
It'll be
maybe
hard hitters. It might be
more math
random cards, more math questions.
I'll take anything. Bring it on.
Ooh.
There's not a lot of chatting going on, so somebody's typing something.
Someone's thinking about something big.
They're writing their 5-paragraph essays right now.
What's the most expensive game you got behind you?
I did pay $5,000 for this.
Oh, that's not bad, I guess.
No, I mean it's like in terms of games, it's not like overly expensive, but I think that's like the 6th most expensive GameCube game of all time. So I'm like, I played a ton of GameCube as a kid. I can't get excited about N64 games. That was before me. I can't get excited about SNES or NES. Like I get that those things are iconic. I didn't play them. I feel like a fraud if I'm buying those things. So I buy the things that were important to me and fun to me, and that's one of them.
Well, there you go. Real quick, Jack says, Lootbox TV, talk about the impact of a well-made TV series production will have keywords well made. I'll let you crack at it first.
Well, I think we sort of already know the answer to this, right? Like Last Dance.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
I will say, I mean, there's some stuff coming out. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say or supposed to say, having been at Golden before, but people know there's a Golden show coming out, and I'll say that. And it's certainly it's not going to hurt. But, you know, I think nothing will have a bigger impact than Last Dance did as a single, like, you know, TV series or production. It'll be great to see. I'm excited to see what it does. It'll have a positive impact for sure. I'm not sure that overall it's going to like just triple everything overnight, but it'll have some good impact.
What about have you watched Behind the Cards yet?
I have
Did you
not.
see that came out? So that was a documentary done. We're actually going to be talking to the director in a few weeks, but it has like Steve Aoki in it and a few other card influencers talking about the hobby and everything else. Vegas Dave's even in there. He's making it seem like he is the guy who started it all. It's a pretty interesting watch. I highly recommend you take a look at it just to get some ideas and concepts behind what these individuals think. But it was made pretty well. Just throwing that out there, but it was interesting.
I'll have to check it out. No, I always love that stuff, and I love for there to be more good hobby content. I always think that's a huge positive. So even if it's not something that moves the needle a ton by itself, I always love that stuff, and I'm excited. I'll definitely check that out.
So besides Super Monkey Ball, what's one more game?
I won't go to that again. Don't worry. I already talked about that twice. I know not to go back to that a third time. I gotta like actually look what's back here now.
You have Super Smash back there? Time Splitters. Do you have Time Splitters? Remember that game?
I don't have Time Splitters, and I don't remember that game.
Oh my God. I guess I'm the only one.
You have any SNES games?
No, I'm pretty like first gen disc consoles. So like you got GameCube, PS1, there's some PS2, Xbox, stuff like that. So I'll pull, I mean, this was like another game. This one in this grade is, I don't know, it's not insanely valuable.
Oh, I wonder if he has Final Fantasy VII graded.
I don't have Final Fantasy. I never played Final Fantasy. MW2. This is like, you know, you get home from school in 2009, 2010, you're just popping on.
That's what it was.
Like Xbox Live all day long. So that's a fun one. I mean, I have this was like some of the early video games that I played, like the Crash Bandicoots and stuff. I have a few, like this is something that like sports card collectors will appreciate. Like the first cover of a player, right? So this is like, people don't know, this is like some really crappy DS game that like no one ever played, but it's Messi's first cover. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Like I got it for so cheap and graded it. And yeah, it's like, you know, stuff like that's fun. But I mean, dude, all these games, Wave Race, Blue Storm, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, all the Monkey Balls, Freak Style, NASCAR Thunder, MLB Slugfest, Tony Hawk American Wasteland, Mario Party. Like all these are games that I played. All these are games that I played so much as a kid that like it's just it's fun to have them. And yeah, I don't know, picking a favorite. That's like telling me like pick a favorite child or something. Like, come on, these games are the best. My favorite one is the graded one. How about that?
There you go. The grand dogs are good. I got dogs. Let's see here. Hey, facial hair like yourself. How do you get some facial hair like yourself here?
You got to go buy the what is it? The Daniel Navas Top Selling Ginner beard card. Have the beard relics, and you cut them up and you take them and you just glue them on. That's how you do it. Yeah.
What's the biggest card you've ever pulled?
Ah, dude, none. No, I have like a sad story, man. I was I bought a sealed case of 2016 Select Soccer Hobby, and literally first pack open up, I'm like, dude, there's a black 1 of 1 in here. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is it. This is where my life changes. And I'm like slow rolling it from the top. And I'm like, I knew this set really well. I'm like, that's the Messi. Like, dude, I literally got the Messi black 1 of 1. And I'm like, about to like, dude, like, I'm like, my heart's, and I'm like, I did it. And I go and pull it, and it's Huntelaar. And I'm like, and you look at the cards, like literally go look at 2016 Select Huntelaar and Messi. Like the top looks identical. I was devastated.
Wow.
I was like, I went from like, 100 to 0 like so fast. It was, but what's like the best card I ever pulled? I don't know. I like, truthfully, I don't think I've pulled anything that ridiculous. I don't rip a lot of wax. I don't know. What did I hit recently? I randomly bought with my buddy. We were like hanging out, like, oh, let's buy like the Caicedo spot in a National Treasures soccer break. He has one card in the product. It's a base card. It appears 1 in 50 cases. We paid like $20 for the spot, and we hit the one number to 10. It's like $1,000 card. So that was fun.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, we tend to have very good luck together, me and Murray. But yeah, I don't know. I've never pulled any like 5-figure card for sure.
Well, there you go. Not bad. What do you think about Whatnot? The app
works
really,
really well. Like I'm impressed with what they've built just from the tech perspective. Things slick as all heck, but I don't use it a ton personally on like the buy side. I think the sell side, I'm like becoming more and more intrigued about like, what it just be like, just go on there and like just auction 50 slabs, just like have a little bit of a community there and do that. And I think I'm very impressed with what they've built. I don't personally rip a ton of wax, so that's why I don't use it more from that side. But I certainly think there's like, if you're interested in building a business in cards, I think you should definitely be thinking about Whatnot and what you can do there.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit not last week, but the week prior, and I agree with you 100%. The tool itself, the app, is fantastic,
remarkable. Yeah, super impressive.
And we talked about regulation earlier. That's an app that, I mean, they have no sales data. There's no, control of their breakers. There's been a lot of drama, a lot of breakers losing their minds on the app,
just
being
sort of
rude and stuff like that.
I feel like this is like the AT&T thing, right? They're like, we're just a carrier. Like we don't like, you can't get mad at us because like someone committed a crime by using our cell service.
Right,
like I think that's probably how like Whatnot should position too. Is like we're just a service. Like we don't. Yeah, it's like it's sort of how I thought Twitter should have operated for some time. But then I don't know. Now it's all moderation and kind of like there's all these teams that moderate everything everywhere, and it's like that just seems like a losing battle that you have to moderate stuff all the time.
It's very you could flip flop either side in my opinion with that, but when there's money involved, I think it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different.
Totally.
Apparently, I'm the Vegas Daves on the 2010s. The Adam Sandler movie. I did hear about that. Adam Sandler is making a sports card movie, which should be pretty interesting.
I'm very excited for that. I'm really curious how they're going to spin that movie. Is that like some guy just going to try and find cards? Is it some guy doing really big deals? Is it some guy trying to scam everyone? Like I'm really curious what the spin or what the message is going to be from that.
I think they came out and said it was about high-end, like the high-end market and buying and selling in the high-end market. And I think they're going to start him off as one of those, like a potential dealer that wheels and deals big cards.
That will be really fun and interesting to see. And it's Safdie brothers who were doing it. Those guys make stellar movies. So
maybe
that will be. I'm excited to see that.
Best all-time basketball. What you got?
Jordan. I don't know. Not an exciting answer.
What about football? Is it Tom Brady?
TB. Yeah, it's got to be.
Okay.
Oh, maybe I'm a special teams guy. Ray Guy, best of all time. It's funny, like Ray Guy like is as good of a punter as Brady was a quarterback. It's just like we just value the quarterbacks more. I don't know. It is weird to say best football player of all time, right? Because you have other position players that were absurdly dominant, and then it's like we just disregard you because you don't play quarterback. So it's like the rest of the hobby. I guess I'm on point.
Would you shave your beard into a horseshoe mustache?
You mean just
obviously not now, but
I'll do it. I'll do it now.
Oh, what?
He'll do it on stream.
No,
I would be like, all right, everybody, clip that. That's going live right now.
I would.
We'll just have to get him to like a certain number of followers somewhere. Like set a goal, and then Eric.
Yeah. How many people are listening? How many people are listening right now? You got a
14 on
100,
116 live at the moment.
That's really solid for live. I was gonna say though, if we do like 1,000 followers new, I would go and do it. But it's excessive for 116 viewers.
All right, let's start tweeting out accounts. Everybody.
We need the bots. Please, the bots.
Bring on the bots.
Barrett or Cloud. Dude, Barrett all day. Got to have the little arm cannon. Cloud's like a cheap pick. Like big fist. I get what that. Nick has a question for you. I'm not. Was it Martinelli? True rookie card. What do you think about it?
Martinelli true rookie card. I mean, soccer's in a weird spot with rookie card logos, just about like every other sport. I don't even speculate on that too much. I think though, like I look at Mbappe as a really good example where his real rookie is 2016, where he has the sticker from that year, but then 2017 Topps Chrome, everyone calls a rookie. And his 2018 Prism World Cup card is arguably his biggest card 2 years after his rookie. And so I'm probably less personally concerned with what's like a quote unquote true rookie. And I would consider more what's going to be the best card to buy of that player if I believe in them. Martinelli is a rookie logo in 2022 Prism World Cup. If Martinelli is the next big thing, his 2022 Prism World Cup card to me is going to be the card to have. So I would go, I don't know what Topps, what is he in any Topps Chrome products? Like, cause I also love the super like the parallels I really like: Superfractor, Gold Refractor, Gold Prism, and Black Prism. And like, even like a breakaway Black Prism like does nothing for me, man. I'd way rather have a true gold to 10 than like a breakaway Black Prism 1/1. Because like, they're going to make 10 more freaking 1/1 parallels. And the only one that's going to really be like the one to have is the true color on these guys. So yeah. I would say, depending on your budget, don't buy the Gold Prism because I still need that one. But I'd say like, yeah, a true color Prism rookie of Martinelli is going to be a safe bet because, like even like I said, look at Mbappe and his 2018 Prism without a rookie logo is probably his biggest card, particularly that Black 1/1. I mean, you could argue between the Black 1/1 2018 Prism World Cup and the 2017 Topps Chrome Superfractor, which no one knows where that card is. But so yeah, I would say you're going to be safe buying 2022 Prism World Cup Martinelli. That his biggest card in existence will probably be the Black 1/1 from that set if he really does pop off.
There you go. Do you still collect Supreme?
Collect? I don't know if I'd use the word collect. I buy stuff casually here and there though. Like I just bought a bucket hat, and what else did I buy? Oh, the air fresheners and stuff. So I still buy stuff here and there, but it's definitely not the same as it used to be. It used to be like every Thursday I'm out of the store with a wad of cash trying to buy stuff off people as they bring it down to the street. So it's like, wow. I still enjoy it, but they made a lot of missteps along the way, and definitely got a little bit burnt out on how many red box logos can you see before you're like, okay, I've had enough of this stuff.
Yeah, fair. Very fair. I think I can answer this for you, but what would you rather have, Optic or Prism?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give a slightly more nuanced answer than just one or the other. I obviously am a big fan of Prism, but if I'm like, hey, I want a rookie autograph, I'm going to take Optic because it's on card. If I just am after the base card, I'm definitely taking the Prism. Even in Prism, like for me, Prism, like the non-auto is way better than the auto, and the market is definitely agreeing with that. And I would say Optic's the other way around. The auto is better in Optic. So I would still, if you take the auto and non-auto from Optic and from Prism, I still take the Prism non-auto over any of the other options. But if I'm like, hey, I probably would go, one would be, I go Prism non-auto, Optic auto, Prism auto, and then Optic non-auto would probably be the order I would rank them in.
Okay. Fair enough. I do like those rookie on-card autos from Optic. I think Optic's a beautiful rookie card.
Yeah, totally. Really nice. The rated rookie thing is cool too. I mean, that's just like an iconic emblem.
Just a tough pull rates in that thing. Oof.
I wouldn't know. I've ripped about 0 Optic in my life.
Shout out to Kevin. Hey, thanks, man. We appreciate the support.
Hey, I try to shoot straight, Kev. I'm like, I do call out a lot of BS. But when companies do cool things too, I really try to like call those out as well, right? Like Topps did, I don't know, I posted the other day like some triple patch Pujols, Ohtani, Trout that they did, all game used, all on card autos. It's like, now you're doing a good job. That's a good card. Game used, patches, on card autos. Like, yes, I love that, right? And so, yeah, I mean, there's good and there's bad, and I don't really like when people just choose to be one or the other. Just kind of like, I just try to shoot straight, you know.
100%. All right, last question of the night. It's an interesting one because I heard about Dibs before. Thoughts on Dibs in the current NFT space? Are you still active on that platform?
I have not used Dibs recently to transact on cards, in part because my focus on cards has been like truthfully so Gold Prism heavy recently. Like literally, I sold a bunch of stuff to be prepared for when 2022 Gold Prism came out. Cause like I know like that's 300 Gold Prism. I'm at 78 already out of 300. And that product came out like 2 weeks ago. So like I'm spending a lot of money on that. Spending a lot of money on that right now. I am a big believer in Evan Vandenberg. I know him pretty well. I'm excited to see what exactly they do there and how exactly that goes for them. I know they're early stages of that new product they're rolling out. So I can't speak to the product a ton, but I can speak to Evan, and I think that he's the real deal. And I'm excited to see, how that sort of gets built out and how that really gets used in the coming weeks, months, years.
Cool. Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Eric, thank you so much for joining us today. There was a comment in this from B, said this channel is honestly the only reason I have an internet plan. I appreciate the support. Very appreciative of all of you, including JW. I know he's laughing, but his trolls get me every single week. And if I ever see you in person, I'm kicking you in the shin. But that's another thing.
That's awesome.
But I appreciate the time. Thank you all. Eric, I'm going to let you end it. Do you have anything else you might want to plug? Huh?
Hey, I'm not even going to plug anything. I'm just going to say Gin and Juice. You guys are doing a great job with this. The show is really fun. I've done a few of these. I think this might be the most fun I've had on one. You guys are professional, making killer content. And look, there needs to be more people that shoot straight, that make good content in the industry. I think it's going to be something that really pushes it forward. So I guess one last thing I would say to the common folk out there is like the average listener, just like try not to be like super negative on creators in the card industry. I see a lot, like it always bothers me when I go into cardboard comments and people are just like fighting and taking it so seriously. Like, guys, this is little pictures of men and women, and like it's fun. Have a good time. Like, and I think more content and more creators in this industry is going to be a really, really good thing. I think just about everyone will agree with that. But I'm telling you, what happens when there's a kid who's thinking about making a video or making a piece of content and he goes into someone's comment section and it's a war zone? Like that kid's like, well, I'm not going to do this. I don't want to put up with that crap. So I would just say, like, as it relates to social media, be the bigger man. Don't pick fights. Have a good time. This is all supposed to be fun. It is really fun if you make it that way. And if you don't make it that way, well, then it's not. So it is what you make it. Enjoy it. Have a good time with it. Be positive. And yeah, I'll wrap with that. And you guys are doing a killer job. So keep it up.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Deuces.